So in this video, we're going to be going over something called dimensional analysis. Now this is a method that we use in most science classes to convert units. But we also have to pay attention to significant figures. Now, this is on your worksheet that has a reference chart at the top, and at the bottom it has about 20 questions. So I'm going to show you how to work these out step by step, also paying attention to significant digits. So let me kind of give you a quick introduction. When you're looking at this reference chart, it gives you what you call a conversion factor. So a conversion factor is an equivalence between units. So if I were to say, like, look at the first one, it says 1 hogshead equals 7 firkin. This is a conversion factor because, again, as I said, it gives you some kind of equivalence between units. Now, in terms of significant figures, this is important. Whenever you're working with conversion factors are said to have their exact numbers. So we treat them as having, exact numbers, even though when we actually sometimes discover it, it doesn't, but we treat them as having exact numbers. Excuse me. So what that means is that we have an infinite number of significant digits. So whenever you're doing operations with conversion factors, if you had like 7 in it, we wouldn't say it has 1 sig fig. We treat it as having an infinite number of sig figs. Okay, so we can go ahead and start on the first one, and I'm going to show you how this dimensional analysis works. The first one says 35 vum, so we need to start off by writing 35 vum. Okay, and then you could put a little bar with 1, and then times, and then we put another fraction. Now, whenever we're doing this, we need to make sure that the unit right here, vum, needs to be down here, vum. It has to be diagonal. And sometimes this is easy, and we can convert it in one step. Sometimes it requires multiple fractions. So this one is an easy one because we only have one step, really. We go to our conversion factor on the left hand side. It says, where was that? 1 fot equals 5 vum. So 5 vum, 1 fot. We're converting to fot, right? So we can go ahead and slash these units because they're diagonal like that. So when you have one on the top, one on the bottom, you can just cross it out. That unit is gone. We're going to have our answer in fot, which is what we want. And then now we actually do the computation. When we're actually working this out, these ones here are exact numbers. So they have an infinite number of sig figs. And we always have to write the least number of sig figs from our multiplication rules that we did in the other video. So this has 2 sig figs, this has an infinite number of sig figs, so we have 35 on top here, 35 times 1, and then fot. And then on the bottom we have an exact number, so infinite sig figs. And this is also treated as an exact number, so all we do is just go ahead and write 5. So we don't have to worry about the sig figs here, because we're dealing with these exact numbers. Now, again, this one is the one that's given to you, the 35 vum in the question. So we're not going to treat that as an exact number because it could have been like rounded, right? It could have been like 34.9999 and we rounded it to 35. So that's why numbers that are given to you, you don't want to treat them as we call exact numbers. They're usually experimental empirical results. That's why it says in the worksheet, you must show all work to get credit. Work must be in organized fashion. Answers must have units and correct significant figures. Okay, so kind of just reiterating that. So our final answer, like I said, we're starting with a number that's not exact, has 2 sig figs. So our final answer should have 2 sig figs. So now we're at this step, 35 fot divided by 5. That gives us 7. Now remember, we're supposed to have 2 Sig Figs, so we can't just write 7. Now you're going to ask me, how do you write 7 with 2 Sig Figs? Well, let's say we have our handy decimal. We just put 7.0, and now that has 2 Sig Figs. Make sure you put the unit, so 7.0 fought. You don't have to write this, but on the side you can put 2 Sig Fig, just to remind yourself that's what's happening here. Alright. Now we can go ahead and look at number 2. That one says 55 Bef equals how many fought? Start off by writing 55 Bef. Okay. Over 1 times fraction bar. Now we need to find some kind of conversion factor that relates Bef and fought. So we're looking at our table. This is another kind of easy one because it's only one step. See it on the left in the middle. It's 9 fought equals 2 Bef. Of course, Bef is here, so then it has to be on this side right here, Bef. Why? Because those units have to cancel out. Then we put the fought on top. These have to cancel out, so that's either if Bef is on the top here, then Bef has to be on the bottom there. And we're converting Bef and fought, so that's 2 Bef is 9 fought. 2 Bef, 9 fought. Alright, cool. So now we can go ahead and work out our computation. Since we're, again, I'm just going to give you kind of the shortcut here. Since these conversion factors have an infinite number of Sig Figs, we're really only going to pay attention to the number of Sig Figs in the given. So the given has 2 Sig Figs. Doesn't matter how many times we multiply with several conversion factors, our final answer will have 2 Sig Figs. So just kind of keep that in mind. I explained it a little bit, kind of over elaborated here, but that's just to kind of put the point across. Here we can just go ahead and do the computation. So we're going to do 55 times 9, and the teacher wants step by step, so let's go ahead and do that. 55 times 9 gives us 495 fought over, and then 1 times 2 is 2, and then we don't write Bef anymore because it's gone. Now we just divide it, so 495 divided by 2, green button. Alright, so you get 247.5. 247.5. And it's kind of good to write this, the decimal, because you want to show your teacher that you know how to do the Sig Figs part. So I'm going to start off. This is not the final answer. If you box this, it'd be wrong. Because we need to have our answer in 2 Sig Figs. That's important. That's how the rounding works. That's why we did that other video on rounding Sig Figs, identifying Sig Figs, operations with Sig Figs, so on and so forth. Okay. So, what do we got here? 247.5. We're rounding it to 2 Sig Figs. So we look at the first Sig Fig. Okay, that's good. Look at the second one. Okay, that's the second Sig Fig. So what I'm doing here is I'm just checking, like, it's non-zero, right? So the first digit is significant. The second one is non-zero, so the second one's also significant. And we've got our 2 Sig Figs, but we have to round it. So let's look at the neighbor. He bumps this number up. So that's going to round it to 250. How many Sig Figs does that have? 2 Sig Figs. So you would leave your, oh, don't forget the unit, that's fought. Box it like that. Alright, cool. Alright, so we do that. Let's go to number 3. That one says 333 centimeters. 333 centimeters. That means our final answer is going to have 3 Sig Figs. So 333 centimeters, we want to convert that to miles. This is a fun one. It's a little bit trickier because we're going to have multiple little fraction bars. Just be careful with that. But whenever you do this, it's always good to, if we have centimeters here, then we can put centimeters down here so that these units cancel out. And then we have to find some kind of conversion that will help us get to miles. So looking at the table, we have 1 mile equals 1.609 kilometers. That's in the middle. Okay, so that means to get to miles, we need to get to kilometers because we don't have a conversion factor from centimeters straight to kilometers. Centimeters straight to miles. So we have to go through these intermediate steps. So let's go ahead and move this unit. We want to convert this one into kilometers. So let's do that. But what we're going to want to do here, you got to be careful because this is centimeters. Remember that 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter, and 1,000 meters is 1 kilometer. So if you want to go straight from centimeters to kilometers, it might be a good idea to go to meters and then to kilometers, just to kind of make the process a little easier in terms of what we're multiplying. So I'm going to go ahead and just go to meters first because that's easier. So 100 centimeters is 1 meter. And then from meters we can go into kilometers. And this actually helps us practice that diagonal crossing out of units, right? So 1 meter, so I'm going to put a meter here. And we know that how many meters is a kilometer? 1,000 meters. So 1,000 meters equals 1 kilometer. Meters slash out. Okay. Sorry, I'm just drinking my coffee here. Alright, so now we have 1 kilometer. And now we want to go to miles, right? So that is a conversion factor on the table. We have that 1 mile is how many kilometers? 1.609 kilometers. So I'm going to put 1.609 kilometers, and that's for 1 mile. Okay, nice. Now all we need to do, I'm going to slash out these units, again, diagonal. That's why I put the kilometers down there. Slash out the units, and then we can go ahead and do the math computation step. So get the calculator. The numerator here is going to be 333. Remember that all of these conversion factors, we say, have an infinite number of Sig Figs, and the only imprecise number we're working with is the given, which is 3 Sig Figs. Our final answer is supposed to have 3 Sig Figs. So 100 times 1,000 times 1.609 is 1,60900. Again, this I'm just doing in the calculator. And then 333 divided by 1,60900 approximates to 0.00207 miles. Our final answer is supposed to have 3 Sig Figs. Remember that when you have these decimals, the zeros in front of the first non-zero digit are not significant. So these zeros in front, not significant. So all we do is we start with this guy. This 0 is sandwiched between these two, so it is significant. And then the 7 is significant. So guess what? This is already in 3 Sig Figs. You can just box in the answer right there. Now let's try number 4. So we have 345 liters over 1 times bar. We're going to want to convert this into bushel. Okay, so let's see, conversion factor, find bushel and liters, or at least something related to liters. Let me see, I'm trying to find it here. Where is that? Let's see. Can't seem to find this one. Hold on. Where is it? Okay. 1 liter. Come on, come on. Where is it? It's hiding from me. So we have 1 liter, and we have that is quarts. So we know that 1 liter is 1.057 quarts. Okay. Perhaps we can use that. And we have 1 peck is 8 quarts, and 4 pecks is 1 bushel. Okay. So we have to go from liters to quarts to pecks to bushels. So again, I'm just kind of finding that information straight from the table. So let's go ahead and do that one. So let's convert from liters to quarts. So I'm going to put liters down here, and we have, where is, all right, 245 liters. Okay, so now we have to write quarts. That's 1.057 quarts. So 1.057 quarts. I'm going to write that here. Times bar. And now we want quarts at the bottom. So that remember, these units are always like in this diagonal fashion. So quarts on the bottom. And we're going from quarts to pecks. So we know that 1 quart, oh, I forgot to put this right here, 1 liter. Alright, so 1 quart, where was that? I just saw it. Sorry, 8 quarts is 1 peck. That's on the right side. Alright, so now we got that. So now we need pecks over here. And then we finally get to bushel. And where is that conversion? It's right next to this one. It's above it. 1 bushel is 4 pecks. So 4 pecks, 1 bushel. And then, of course, diagonal cancellation. Is that a word? Anyway. Cancellation, sorry. What am I saying? Yes, cancellation. Alright, good. Now we just do our math. Don't forget that these conversion factors all have infinite sig figs. The first number that we're given is the one that's imprecise. That has 3 sig figs. So our final answer should have 3 sig figs, 345 times 1.057. Enter, that's that. And then we're going to divide this by 8 times, okay, I'm just typing numbers in the calculator. So when you do all of this math stuff, the computation, you get 11.3958 bushel. Now what's important here is we need our answer to have 3 sig figs. So I look at this first digit is non-zero, so it's significant. The second one is also significant. The third one is significant. So we underline that one. Look at the neighbor on the right side. That's a 9. It bumps it up to a 4. So we get 11.4 bushel. That, and then that would be our answer to 3 sig figs. Alright, so that's kind of how you're going to be doing these problems.